Hello everyone, welcome to this video on TCS NQ2 National Qualifier Test 2020. So this video is dedicated to solving numerical ability questions of the official sample test available in the TCS NQ2 website. If you have not attempted this sample test, we strongly recommend you to go ahead, pause this video, go ahead and attempt the test that's available in the official website. You can also find the link in the description in the video. It's available in the official website. A simple sample test. It's going to be 2 hours test, which is the replication of actual test that you can experience. Try it with your best efforts. Take it seriously and do it if you have not yet attempted, because we are going to discuss the questions and how to solve them. And these questions all belong to TCS. Obviously, we are not claiming any ownership on this. We are just trying to help students by solving them. The order of the questions might vary depending on how the questions are generated. I mean, each student is getting a different sequence so in the sample test, but ultimately the questions are going to be same. And if you are watching for the overall analysis of the sample section, so we are trying to extrapolate how the actual exam might be based on the sample test and how you need to strategize and what we think is the ideal number of attempts and all. We have discussed that at the end of the video, where we have come up with the overall split of the topics and what areas have they stressed upon and what kind of questions have been asked and what we believe is a good attempt with respect to an average student. So you can skip it if you don't want to watch the solution directly to the end. You can watch that. It should be in the last 5 minutes of the video. Right, so let's get started. This video is brought to you by Learning Made Easy team, a team of IIM grads in association with our e-learning partner GTCube Get to the Top. We've also launched a mini mock series, a 2-test mock series inclusive of subject test as well. But then the major focus is on this, so we have replicated the pattern here, and that will give you a very good sense and understanding of how actual TCS is going to be, and you're going to get 2 more tests for your practice before you take the actual TCS NQ2. Right, you can check it in our store. It's available only for 99 rupees. So it's a very affordable price and we're giving it at, and we are very sure that it will give you a good practice for the actual test. We never claim that these questions are the old questions of TCS, or these are going to be the the questions that you will see in the exam. No, we have tried our best to understand the pattern and have come up with the similar questions so that we give a feel of how you can set your mind in terms of strategy and experience of solving the questions sitting through the 2-hour exam. Right, so let's get started. So we'll solve each question. I might skip some calculations, but then overall the concept wise I'll explain each and every one slowly. If you're confused, then don't worry, just rewind it and recheck it again. You'll understand it. Right, so let's solve this. It's a percentage question, a simple percentage based question. The income of A is 70% of the income of B, so it will be like this: income of A is equals to 70% of income of B. So I am assuming the variables as income of A is IA and IB for B. Right, and then the expenditure of B is 20% less than the expenditure of A. If you can read this sentence clearly, you will find it very easy. What does that mean? It means expenditure of B is 20% less than expenditure of A. That is technically this: expenditure of A minus 20% of expenditure of A, because the comparison is with 20% less than the expenditure of A, so it's a base of expenditure A. So technically this will finally turn out to be 80% of expenditure of A. So when I do this question, right, ideally I would have written directly like this: IA is equals to 0.7 into IB, because 70% is 70 by 100. I rather prefer in decimals actually, but then everyone has a choice, no worries. Then this I would have ideally written, okay, 20% less is 100 minus 20 is 80%, so it will be EB is equals to 0.8 into expenditure of A. Right, then expenditure of A is equal to 60%. Again, I will write 60% of income of B, which will be basically written as 0.6 into income of B. So technically, there are the 3 things, and they're asking what is the ratio of savings of A and B. So what would be the savings? Savings of A is nothing but income of A minus expenditure of A, and savings of B is income of B minus expenditure of B. One basic point: there are 4 variables here: income of A, income of B, expenditure of A, expenditure of B, but there are only 3 equations, right? This equation 1, equation 2 and equation 3. So technically you cannot find the actual values for all of them. Okay, basic rule of equations in math: number of variables should be equal to number of equations for unique solution. But you don't need for that in this question. Okay, so what I'll try to do is I'll assume income of B is 100 rupees. I can assume any value, not a problem. 1, 10, your lucky number, not at all a problem. I can even assume income of A as 100 or something. I'm starting with B because income of B is used in two places, and I'm taking 100 because 0.6 into 100 will be 60, 0.7 into 100 will be 70. It will be more easier for us to deal with. So if income of B is 100, what is the expenditure of A? Based on third equation, 0.6 into 100, so it will be 60. And what about income of A? It's 0.7 into IB, so it will be 0.7 into 100, which is 70. And what about expenditure of B? It's 0.8 into expenditure of A, which is 60, which is going to be 48. Now it's very easy for us. What is IA minus EA? IA is 70 minus EA is 60, so it will be 10. What about IB minus EB? Is 100 minus 48, which is 52. So they're asking, say, ratio of savings of A and B, so it's divided by, so it is 10 by 52 is the required ratio. It will be 2 5s are 2, 26. So that's option C. 5 is to 26 is the answer for it. Right, I might do it a bit slower to explain. You can obviously do it faster, just showing it in a slightly detailed manner. The second one is on time and work. A simple one: A and B together can do a certain work in 16 days, whereas B and C together can do in 20 days. If A is twice as good a workman as C, that's connection between the work rates of efficiency of A and C, then B alone can do the same work in. So the way I generally do these questions is I always assume the total work, right? And I take total work. Some of you might be taking 100%, some of you might be taking it as 1. That's why you do 1 by 16, 1 by 20, etc. If you know that way, anything is fine. But I rather do always something which is divisible by 16, 20, the numbers that I see here. So let's take, for example, 16 and 20 will be 80. 80 units is the LCM of 16 and 20. Why did I take 80? Because it's LCM of 16 and 20. I can take 200, I can take 100, I can take 320, anything would fine. So I'm assuming the total work is 80 units. That's my assumption. So A and B together completed the work in 16 days. What does that mean? 80 units of work are put up by them in 16 days. That means they will be putting 5 units per day. Who are they? It's A and B together. So work rate of A plus work rate of B. Work rate means efficiency. How much of work would a person do in one day? So I am assuming 80 units is the total work. So by 16 days is what they're taking together. That means they together are putting 5 units every day. In 16 days they will put all the 80 units. Right. So then B and C together can do in 20 days. So same 80 units in 20 days. That means they are putting 4 units per day. So that's for the work rate of B and work rate of C. So now A is twice as good as C is basically work rate of A is 2 times work rate of C. So again, it's easy for us. As I said, 3 variables, 3 equations. As I said, we have 3 equations here. WA, WB, WC are the 3 variables. We have 1, 2 and 3 equations. So it's easy to do. But it's asking for B alone can do the work, right? So let's find work rate of B to solve it. So WA is 2 times WC. So this will turn out to be this way. This will be 2WC plus WB is equals to 5. And you know WB plus WC is already 4. That means WC should be 1. It's very obvious, right? I'll just replace it here. So 2WC is WC plus WC plus WB. 2WC is 2 times WC. So WC plus WB is 4. So 5 is equals to WC plus 4. So WC must be 1 unit per day. So if WC is 1, WB must be 3 units per day. And WA must be 2 units. Not relevant, but I'm just doing. This is the relevant one for us. So that means B can put 3 units every day and he needs to put 80 units. The time taken by B alone would be 80 units at the rate of 3 units per day. The answer would be 326, I guess, 68, 78, right? So 2 by 3, yeah, it will be 26, 2 by 3. That's the answer for this. Right? Again, an easier question. It takes a bit of time, but you can easily do it in less than 1.5 minutes, I guess. If you've understood right, we have 24 questions in 40 minutes, right? That's how the exam is set up. 40 minutes for 24 questions of, I think 26 if I'm not wrong. 6 questions, right? You'll get almost slightly 1.5 minute, slightly less than that, but yeah, you'll get almost 1.5 minute for each question. So that's something you can do it in this period. So this one is a word problem, simple linear equations based word problems. So cost of 5 chairs and 2 tables is 5820. If one chair costs C rupees and 2 tables cost T rupees, so 5 into C, 5 chairs and 2 tables should be 5820. And cost of 2 chairs and 1 table is 2640. So what is the cost of 1 table is what percent more than the cost of 2 chairs? Now this is dealing with a percentage more, right? What percent more than the cost of 2 chairs? Okay, first let's find the table and chairs, then I'll tell you how you can convert this into a simple percentage change question. So let's first find the table and the chair. So 2 linear equations, simple to solve. Let's do into 2. So this will turn out to be 4c plus 2t is equals to 5280. 2 cancel, 5c minus 4c. I'm just doing subtraction. So c is equals to how much will be 0, 12, 4, 7 minus 2 is 5. So 540 is what we're getting as the cost of the chair. So what will be the cost of the table? So 2 chairs is 1080 plus 1 table is equals to 2640. So table is equals to will be 1560, right? So that's the cost of 1 table. Now the cost of 1 table, basically 1560 is what percent more than the cost of 2 chairs. 1 chair is 540, so cost of 2 chairs is 10. This is what the question is ultimately translated to. 1560 is what percent more than 1080. So I always tell you the percentage change formula, or percentage more or percentage less it is. I treat like this: final value minus initial value by initial value into 100. So this is my final value, this is my initial value. Sorry, this is my initial value. This is my base value basically, right? More than, it's referring to this as the fixed, the base value. On top of that, how much is this more? So you just have to do the same. We 1560 minus 1080 by 1080 into 100, right? So here if you see carefully, the percentages are very closely spaced, right? 43, 44 and 40 and 39. So that takes a bit of time, but there's a calculator in the exam. Okay, so if you're not someone who is very comfortable, you can use it only for limited things. Trust me, don't try to do it for everything. Don't try to do what is 2640 minus 1080, because it's a calculator where you have to move your mouse 2640 minus, you have to move for each and everything. It's not with the keyboard or like your scientific calculator you might have been using in your college, right? It takes you time actually, realize that. So 1560 minus 1080 will be 1100, 460 and then 480 by 1080 into 100, right? So it's 4800. So let me do 5 sir, no, it will be only 4 sir. It's 44%. I think that's the answer. Maybe if you are not comfortable, you could have used here 480 by 1080. What is it? You would have gotten 0.44 something. You would mark 44, right? That's the only thing you can use, but don't use it for small things because you will just lose your time. So this one is on the ages. So the ratio of ages in the years of A and B 9 years ago was 23 to 12. It's 9 years ago, and the ratio of the age after 15 years will be something. What is the present age of A and B? So I'll assume the ratio of present age, right? I always assume in these questions the present ages are A and B. Be clear with that, what you're assuming, okay? A years is the age of A right now and B years is the age of B right now. What would have been their ages 9 years ago? A minus 9 and B minus 9, because that's the ratio they've given. Ratio of A and B 9 years ago is A minus 9 and B minus 9. A minus 9 by B minus 9 is equal to 23 by 12. This is one equation. Similarly, 15 years into the future will be A plus 15 by B plus 15 is equals to 35 by 24. You just need to solve the equations, find the A and B ratios, that's it, to get the answer, right? So just let's go around. They're asking the ratio of present ages of A and B. So it will be like 12A minus 12 9s are 108, 23B minus 207, right? So let's just keep it for now. I'm just trying to play around. 24A 360, 35B plus 525, right? So let me send this side. I get 24A is equals to 35B plus 525 minus 360 will be 165. Right, just play with the same way. 12A is equals to, send it to this side, 23B minus plus 108 minus 200 is 99. So this one is 2 times 12A 24A, right? Just multiply this with 2 times. So do you get 24A is equals to 46b minus 198. So 24a is same in both sides. So I can equate 46b minus 198 is equals to 35b plus 165. So send b one side and numbers to one side. You will be getting 11b is equals to at 11 3s are answer. So b is 33, so automatically a must be 12a is equals to 23 into 33. So 3 is 69, 1 is 69 plus 5 759 minus 198. So it will be 200, 559 and 560. Something seems to be off here. Just give me a second. So it will be minus 99. Right, I am doing here 12a is equals to 23 into 33 minus 99. So it should be 660. So 55. So 55 is to 33 is 5 by 3. Calculations are a bit intensive here. Maybe if you are not very quick, you might take a bit more time. Don't worry, be a bit more calm and you should be comfortable in doing this, right? So this is the answer for it. So this one is a bit of data interpretation. So when we took the snap, we couldn't take the options, but that's not a problem, right? We'll just solve and tell you the answer. Study the following table and answer the question. So they've given the products, the years, the sale of its 4 products, PQRS in the 6 years. The total revenue of company from the sale of product Q in 2015 and 2018 and from the sale of product X in 2015 is approximately what % less than the total revenue from the sale of product P in 2014 and 2017 and blah blah blah. This would be very complicated to read in a go, but then trust me, if you just break it down, it will be super easy to do. Okay, just let me show you. Just let me use this. The total revenue of the company from the sale of product Q in 2015 and 2018, and so it's basically plus the sale of product S in 2015 is, are, was, were. If you see, that's equals to, right? That's like one half of the equation. Then I'm getting to the other half of the equation. So first, let's do the first half of the equation. What is the value for this? Total revenue of the company from the sale of product Q in 2015, Q in 2015 and 2018. And is again plus sale of product S in 2015, S in 2015 is approximately what %, I don't know, K percentage, I assume. That's how I do. What percentage? I'm taking K percentage. That's the answer I'm assuming. K is the answer. Then I have to find it. K % sorry, less than. Okay, my bad. So let me just treat it. It's what % more or less. If you remember, we did this, right? What % more than. So this is my base value. This is my final value. Or so just the same logic. Instead of more, they're using less. So this one is the final value. Whatever we are seeing here is what % less than whatever I see would be my initial value or the base value, so that I can find the percentage change for this. So what is the base value? Total revenue from the sale of P in 2014, P in 2014 and 2017, and R in 2013 and 2014, right? So it's basically adding 168, 192, 183 and 177. Right, 15 plus 5, 20, 10, 19, 25, 32, so 720, right? That's what the answer for this. What about this? 6 plus 4, 10, 12, 10, 18 and then 725, 3 plus 4 plus 5. 552 is what % less than 720, that is what the question is. So 552 is my final value, 720 is my initial value. So final minus initial, 552 minus 720 by 720 into 100 is what the answer is for this. Because it's less than, obviously you'll get negative. So that's why I'm getting negative. So I don't know how close the options were. Otherwise I could have rounded it off to 550 to make it a little bit easier for us. If I round it off to 550, it would have been 170, but now 168 by 720 into 100. Right. So calculator would make it much easier for us to do it fast, but let me just approximate. 72 2s is 144 and then you'll get 144, so 148 24 240, so 72 3s, so you'll get 23 point something. So the answer will be approximately 23 point some %, right? That's how you can solve this question. Right, this question is easier if you just understand how to break down the complicated sentences, right? Nothing beyond this. It's a simple, a bit of data interpretation in a way, but then extension of percentages. If you're comfortable with the percentages, you'll be good with the reading of data. So this one is on the mixtures, right? So there is acid and water solution of 45 liters and the ratio is 5:4. So acid and water and the total is the mixture split. So they are saying 5:4, that is 9 parts. 5 plus 4 is 9 parts. So just 45 divided into 9 parts is 5 liters. So it is 25 liters and 20 liters, right? That's the ratio of 5:4, 25:20. The total is 45 liters. What happened now? 15 liters of water is added. So only water will increase to 35 and acid will be still 25. So total will be 60 liters. What is the ratio of acid is to water now? 25:35 is 5:7. So that is the current ratio after adding this. In this solution 144 ml has been pulled out, okay? Like they have done 144 ml of this solution and added 52 ml of acid is mixed to it. So let me understand if I am taking in the same ratio 5:7, that's, understand the ratios will stay the same. When you are doing this, always stick to the ratios at the percentage of the elements in the mixture. So even if I take 144 ml from this mixture, it should still have the same split of 5 and 7 is ratios. So 5 and 7 parts is 12 parts, right? 5 plus 7. So 144 by 12 is 12 parts by 144 by 12 is 12. So 12 5s are 60 ml, 12 7s are 84 ml. That will give me 5:7 ratio. The total is 144 ml. That is the total you are seeing. Now what's happening? 52 ml of acid is being mixed. There is only acid, so 60 plus 52 is 112 and this will be 84 ml. The water will be 84, acid is 112 in this current situation. What is the ratio of water? 84 by solution is 112. Right, 12 7s are 84. It's not divisible by 7, is it? Let's do with 4. 4 21s are 4 28s are 7 3s are 7 4. 3:4 is the answer for this, right? I think 28 3s are 28 4s are is what it is. Yes, so answer is 3:4 for this. So pipes 1, so basically in a way I always treat it as time and work extension of that. So pipes and cisterns. So they're saying pipe A and B can fill an empty tank in 40 and 60 minutes. They can fill the empty tank, and pipe C can empty, that is leak, it's remove the full tank in X minutes. I don't know this, that's what I need to find. All 3 pipes are open for 24 minutes and then C is closed. A and B together fill the tank for next 16 minutes. I need to understand this. Again, I'll assume the total work here. When I say total work, that is the capacity of the tank. So 40 and 60, the LCM is, I'll take it as 120 liters. So let's assume the tank is 120 liters. So if A and B can fill in these times respectively, right? So A will take 40 minutes and its role is to fill this 120 liters. What is the work rate? 120 liters in 40 minutes means it will fill 3 liters per minute. What about B? It does in 60 minutes. So 120 liters in 60 minutes is the work rate of B. So it will fill 2 liters per minute. So it will take 60 minutes to fill 120 liters. This will take 40 minutes to fill at this rate. For the emptying part, pipe C, right? I don't know. I'll take it as X only. What is the work rate of C? 120 liters in X minutes. That's 120 X liters per minute. So now let's come to the clue, right? The 3 works for 24 minutes. If all 3 work together, it will be like this. Because C is emptying, it's removing the water. A and B are filling the tank. So the net will be like this. 3 liters are filled by A, 2 liters are filled by B, but something is being removed by C. So it will be 5 minus 120 by X. How much time did they run together? 24 minutes. So it's a 5 minus 120 by X into 24 minutes. Net they would have filled some liters of water, I don't know. And then for 16 minutes, A and B together worked. C stopped working after this, right? So A and B work together, they will put 5 liters per minute. 3 and 2 liters, 5 liters per minute is what they can put. How much would they put in 60 minutes? 80 liters, right? So the first 24 minutes, they have 3 together have put these many liters. In the next 16 minutes, the 2 have filled this much, and that completed the job of 120 liters. So 80 goes this side, it will be 40. So I'll get like this, 5 minus 120 by X is equals to 40 by 24. This is into 24, right? Go into the denominator. So just play with it. So I'll get 4 10s are 4 6 are 5 by 3. Move around things. 5 minus 5 by 3. 5 by 3 goes this side. That will be 10 by 3 is equals to 120 by X. So 36 X is 36 minutes. I might do a little bit, faster in calculations here and there. Don't worry, you can just take time to understand. But yes, it's good to be quick, but don't rush. If you're not quick. Okay, don't try to rush and just make the mistakes. But I just need you to understand this part. This is the most important thing. All the three together can fill this much liters into 24 minutes. Plus, they both will fill 5 liters per minute for 60 minutes, and then I can find the x. So this one is talking about the standard deviation. They have also asked some statistics based questions actually in this paper, mostly focusing on the mean, median, mode and standard deviation. That's the major focus. So standard deviation of the data. So what is the standard deviation? There are 3 steps that I follow. Step 1, find the average of the data. Right. Step 2, find the, apply the formula for standard deviation. So it will be, if I write it, it looks like this: summation of I is equals to 1 to n xi minus x bar, where average is denoted with x bar, whole square by n, right? And then you find the answer. Okay, so let me just show it rather than in the formula way. What is the average of this? So 5 plus 7, 12 plus 9, 21, 32, 45, 61, 78, 86, 96, then 115, and then you have 150. So 150 by how many data points are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So average is 15. So what you will do for the formula is this: put a square root. Each data point should be subtracted from this and then square it. 5 minus 15 is 10. Don't worry about the sign because we are doing square, so it doesn't matter. It's 5 minus 15 or 15 minus 5. Just do it quickly. 10 square, 7, 15, the difference is 8 square. 9 and 15 is 6 square. 11 and 15 is 4 square. 13 and 15 is 2 square. 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square and 20 square. Then there are 10 data points. So 100, 64, right? If I just write it, 100 plus 64 plus 36 plus 16 plus 4 plus 1, 4, 9, 16 and 400. Right, I just have to add it. 100, 64, 600, 200, 220, 234, 250, 650 by 10. So it's square root of 65, square root of 64 is 8, so it should be slightly more than 8. So it should be between 7.8 to 8.2. This is a bit calculation intensive. That's what I found in this questions. I don't know. On the whole, the questions are not at all hard actually in terms of conceptual testing. But I felt the calculations are a bit long in this entire quant paper when I was doing it. So I'll just talk about this at the end, analysis part. But yeah, let's move ahead. So this one is the profit and loss questions. This is slightly trickier. I would put, but it's easy if you just know how to do with the selling price or cost price being, profit is being compared with the selling price of 6 articles, cost price of 10 articles. So let's do let's go about it. Renu bought 28 articles for 1540. Right, and we have discussed these questions in our course also. If you are a student of our course, you would have ideally seen something similar in the profit and loss, the advanced topic. So Renu bought 28 articles for 1540. So I know the cost price of one article, but let's not focus on that. Let's assume the selling price of one article is X rupees. Okay, this is the important assumption you need to know. Okay, we have solved questions like this. A man sold articles, and made a loss of selling price of 2 articles and all of that. So very similar to this, they said profit is equal to selling price of 6 articles. Let's assume selling price of one article is X rupees. What is the profit? He made profit on selling 28 articles. Understand, this is for 28 articles. So he made profit worth 6 articles, right? Selling price of 6 articles. That is, he made 6x rupees. What is the selling price of 28 articles? 28x, because I assumed X rupees, right? So on this, he made this. What is the cost price of 28 articles? Renu bought this 28 for 1540. So simple, right? It's just SP minus CP is equals to profit. So it is 28x minus 1540 is equals to 6x. Just solve this linear equation. It will be 22x is equals to 1540. 22 7s are 154. So 70, x is 70. So thus the selling price is 80 rupees. So how many articles did he sell for 840? So I just need to divide 840 by 70. It will be 12 articles. That's what the question is asking, right? How many articles did he sell for 840 rupees? Each article is sold for 70 rupees. That means he sold 12 articles for 840 rupees, right? So saying the difference between the outer and inner surfaces of right circular metallic pipe 14 centimeters long, that's like the height. So let's say something like this. So this is an outer radius, this is an internal radius. So the difference between the curved surface areas, right, the surface areas, that is, I'm talking about this area, about them is 1776. So what is the curved surface area of a cylinder? It's 2 pi r h. So 2 pi r h minus 2 pi r h is equals to 176 centimeter square. That's one equation. So I'll just take 2 pi h common, so it will be r minus r. So 2 into 22 by 7 into 14. 7 1s are 7 2s are 22, 1s are 22, 8s are. So you'll get 2. So r minus r is 2 basically. The other part is pipe is made of 396 centimeter cube. It should have been cube because it's talking about volume. Pipe is made of some metal, it should be volume. So the volume of pipe would be only talking about this thick part, right? Because the other part would be hollow. There's a pipe with the internal. So the volume should be like this. The volume of the pipe would be, generally it's pi r square h for a cylinder, but because it's an hollow, you have to do with a bigger radius minus pi r small r square h, right? So volume is given as 396. So 22 by 7 is pi and h is also common. I get r square minus r square. Right, 7 on the 7 2s are. This will be 22 1s are 176 2 1s are 2 9s are. So this is r square minus r square. So if I do, this is a square minus b square is r minus r into r plus r equals 9, and I know r minus r is 2. So 2 1s are 2, 4.5 is sum of the radii. That's what they're asking. So that's the answer, option D, 4.5. Right. Simple one if you understand what the definitions are, and there's a mistake with this volume, it should have been centimeter cube, but yeah, once you know how to do with the hollow pipes, I think this would not be a big problem. This one, so when 5075, 3584 and 2732 are divided by greatest number D, the remainder in each case is R. So then what is the value of this? So when you get questions like this is basically an extension of HCF. I would call it to be slightly hard, because if you don't know, you will find it really hard to do it, but if you know what to do, then it won't be a big deal. So when you see a question like this, there are 3 numbers like A, B, C, maybe 4 numbers also, doesn't matter. All of them are divided by some fixed number. If they leave the same remainder, right, all of them leave the same remainder, right, then how can I find the largest value for x? That's what this is, greatest number. It's basically subtract these numbers and find the HCF of the difference of these numbers, right? So you can also do directly also HCF of these 3, but rather it's a bit easier if you just do. So 5075 minus 3584 is equals to 1. 5 minus 4 is 1. 7 8. So do you get, right, that's basically 9, right? So then you'll get 4 and then 1491 5075 2732 3584 right. So we need to find HCF for these 3. So let me do 852 divided by 1491. 11 plus 2 is 9. 5 is 3. 539. So it should be 639, right? So 639 ones are 639, so it will be 3. Yeah, my bad. So 213 is fine for these two. Let's start with 213 for 23 43 3 1s are 213. Okay, 23 1s are 213. So we'll be getting another 21. So 213 11s are is 2343. So 213 is HCF of these 3 numbers, which means 213 is the value for D. Okay, as I said, the greatest number D would be nothing but 213. How did I do? I said because the same remainder I just subtracted among themselves. You could also do directly those numbers also. The HCF would be coming out to be 213. Now what is the remainder when these numbers divide this? I just need to pick one of the case and find the R, right? So just divide 213 by 273 to find the remainder. 213 ones are 213, so it will be 0, 602. 213 3s will be 639, right? So it will be 2 0. 2 3 are 6, 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4. 12 minus 6 is 6. 9 minus 2 is 7. 176. So R is 176. So 3 into D is 639. Minus 2 into R will be 352. Right? So 9 minus 2 is 7. 13 minus 5 is 8. 287 is the answer for this, right? So that's the answer for this. So you just need to do HCF. Whenever you get the same remainder for all of them, just subtract them within themselves. If they have given the value, you could have subtracted that value and then do the HCF. Otherwise, you can just subtract among themselves to get the HCF for them. Right? As I said, stick to this value method. Do A minus B, A minus C, B minus C. Then find the HCF for those differences. And that will give you the greatest value that can divide and leave the same remainder. Right? What should be the remainder? Just substitute and divide with one of the numbers and check the remainder, and you can do it. So this one is again on the stats. The X be the median of the data set, and then they said I replace it with something, and Y be the median of the resulting. So whatever it is. So let's first median, the methods are first arrange them from the smallest to the largest, the largest smallest. So let's do 9, then I have 15, then I have 16, then I have 20, then we have 23, 26, right? We have 9, we are done with 9, 15, 16, 20, 23, 26, then we have 28, and then we have 32, 33, 34, 35 and 43. How many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Right? This is arranged. Now how many terms are there? 12 numbers are there. So median would be, because it's even number of terms, median should be average of 6th and the next term is 7th term. What is the 6th term? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. And the next term is 28, 7th term. So 27 would be the average. That's the median. So median of this is called X. So X is 27 based on the given data set. Now what they're saying is, instead of this, let's say we have slightly different. 16 is replaced with 30. So I'll replace 16 here and should come here. And 23 is replaced by 32. So let's say 32 comes here. So first term, second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term, 6th, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again same logic. So 6th and 7th will be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So 30 is the 6th term and 7th term is 32 by 2. So 31 is the median for this revised data set with this replacement. 3 into X is 81. Minus 2 into 27 is 54. So 2 into 31 is 62. Answer will be 19 is the difference between them, right? Simple median calculation, that's the answer. So 13th question is on interest. It's like a mix of compound interest with some basic percentages, but yeah. So a person buys a washing machine on the condition that he shall pay sum of 5,880 as cash down payment. So when he is buying it, he'll pay this amount immediately. There will still be some amount pending. So he is paying that as installments. The same sum, that is 5880 at the end of first year and the 2 years. So I think this was supposed to be second year. There's a mistake in the way the question is. So basically it's 3 installments. So down payment of 5880. At the end of the first year, the person is paying another 5880. At the end of second year, he paid 5880 and then he is done with the payments. So he is completely done with the payment. So let's understand that the actual cost of washing machine, right, is 5,880 plus R rupees. Why did I do this way? Because I made a down payment, right? So I don't know what the actual value is, so I am splitting it for our ease of calculation. So 5880 has been paid initially. The remaining amount is called R rupees. Okay, so the interest has been paid for that part only over the next 2 years. So what is the overall money paid? 5880 plus 5880 plus 5880 is 15,000, 2,400 plus 240. So it will be 2,400, 2,640, then 15, 17,640. That's the overall money. The cost of washing machine is this, right? So first of all, what will be the situation till the end of first year, right? At the end of first year, what would have been the principal for this entire 1 year? This rupees, right? R. Because this has been paid back, the only thing pending is this. So interest of 5% has been calculated for this period. So the interest at the end of first year would be 5% of R, which is 0.05 R. Okay, so what is the amount, our pending amount at the end of first year? Already R rupees is my pending part, but the person has to pay it. On top of that, he is also supposed to bear the interest also. Totally, he is supposed to pay 1.05 R. So what did the person do? He paid 5880. So what is the situation now? After paying this, what is the amount left? Still the left amount, so that is what would be the base for the second year's calculation. Okay, it won't be the entire amount or R, because the person has paid some more here in this part. The interest will be calculated, compound interest will be calculated only for the pending amount with this period. So what is the pending amount? This one, after paying 5880, the pending amount will be 1.05 R minus 5880. Now at the end of second year, right? So what is the how do you call it, interest at the end of second year? The interest is calculated only for this amount, 1.05 R minus 5880 into 0.05, that is 5%. 5 by 100 is 0.5, that is the interest. So what is the pending amount after second year? Pending amount after second year would be simply 1.05 times, because this is the interest and the actual amount is this. So 1.05 R minus 5880 is common, so you will get 1.05 into 1.05 R minus 5880. So this should be equal to the last installment, so that he is done with it. So this is the equation I need to solve, that is 1.05 into 1.05 will be 1.05 and 1.05 will be 25, 110. So 1.1025 R minus 1.05 into 5880. Let me just do the calculation. This one I am also using a calculator now. 0.05 into, so it is 6174 is equals to, minus 5880. Send it to this side. So it will be 1254. So this is a bit tedious, so I have to use calculator again for this. 12054 divided by 1.1025. So finally R is coming to be 10,933.33. So what is the cost of washing machine? 10,933 plus 5880, right? $16,813. So the washing machine is this much, the overall money paid is this much, the difference should be the interest. Automatically the difference should be the interest that is paid. So what is the difference? 17640 is the overall money person paid in 3 installments, and the washing machine would have been cost this much. It's 827 is the answer, right? Very long and tedious one. When I did this, actually I skipped this question. I'll talk about this because it's better to skip some questions, right? Not at all advised to assume that you can attempt all. Unless you're very quick, that's great. Frankly, I couldn't solve all the questions in the time given. When I attempted a really sample test, I was left with a couple of questions. So I'll tell you I mean, if you can do it, that's great, but otherwise I would say don't assume that you need to solve. You don't need to solve all of them, right? So let's get to this. So you'll see the answers for this because we didn't take the screenshot before solving it, my mistake. So they have given a table, it's like a distribution sort of it. Below 10 there are 5 students, people who scored less than 10. Below 20 includes even below 10. So understand that. So this is basically 5 plus 11. So there are 5 people between 0 to 10 and there are 11 people between 10 to 20. Below 30 means below 10, below 20, and there will be some people 20 to 30 also. This 28 will be 5 plus 11 plus 12. Right. The border zone is a bit risky part. I'm not talking about it. Below 30 is not including 30 technically, so it should be like 0 to 9, 10 to 19 and all of that, but like just let's try to keep it in general this way, right? 20 to 30. Then what about 40? This plus this plus this plus that will be 30 to 40. So it will be 5 plus 11 plus 12 plus 14. And finally this will be 30 people. 42 minus 100 is 30 people are between 40 to 50. So if I draw the class distribution, right, there are 5 people scored less than 10, 11 people scored between 10 to 20, and 12 people between 20 to 30, 14 people between 30 to 40, and 30 people between 40 to 50. So now they're saying X is the class mark of the model class. So first let's find what is the model class. Model class means the one which has the highest frequency or which has most repetitions. You see, that is this class, right? 5 people are there, 11 people, 12, 14, 30 people, that's the highest model class with the highest repetition. So model class is basically 40 to 50, and the class mark is nothing but the average. The class mark of a class is midpoint, upper limit plus lower limit by 2, which is basically 50 plus 40 by 2, 45. So X is nothing but the class mark of the model class 40 to 50, that's 45. Y is the upper limit of the median class. So median class must be that middle point of the class, right? There are 5 people between this. The total, how many students are there? 72 people. If you add them, you will get obviously 72. So what is the median? 36th student and 37th student. I have to find the average of these 2 students to understand where it is. See, there are 5 people here. The next 11 people are here. 5 plus 11 is 16. Plus 11, 12 are here. 28 students. The bottommost 28 are up to this class. Then 28, that is 29th student to 42nd student in terms of lowest to the highest marks are all in this class. The 36, the median class should be in this only, right? 36, 37 are here only. So that means the median class is 30 to 40. This is the median class and this is the model class. And the upper limit is the y. So what is the upper limit of this class? 40. So 2x plus y is 2 into 45 plus 40, which is 130. So this one is again like a percentages with simple interest. So most of an interest sort of a question. Again, I've just accidentally taken it with the answer marked. A's capital exceeds B's capital by 20.5%. B invests its capital at 20% per annum for 3 years. At what percent must A invest at simple interest to get similar amount? So for this question, right, first let's understand what is the principles for A and B. A exceeds B by 20.5. So I'll assume this B is 100 rupees, okay? B's capital is 100 rupees. Why 100? Why can't be anything? Anything can be taken. X also can be taken, not a problem. Just to make it easier, I took 100. So that A is 20.5% more than 100. So 100 plus 20.5 percentage of 100 is again 20.5. That's 120.5 rupees. If I take X, I would have received X and this would be 1.205X. If you do a decimal fraction, it will be a much bigger. So I rather prefer to do this way. Right. So B invests his capital at 20% per annum for 3 years compounded annually. So what is the amount if I invest compound interest? Principal into 1 plus R by 100 whole power T years, that's 3 years. So 100 rupees is invested at 20% per annum for 3 years. So 1.2 cube. So it's like 1.44 into 12, 1.2, 1.728 into 100, it's 172.8 rupees. right? So basically the amount that B will receive for this investment is 172.8. Now the question is saying what should be the percentage, the rate of interest of A, such that at simple interest at the end of 3 years A would also get this much. So what is the difference between 120 so technically the simple interest to be earned by A should be, this should be the amount when A invests this much, because A always invests more, right? That's what the first says. So it's like 0.3252. So simple interest should be 52.3 when the principal is 120.5 into 3 years. The rate of interest is what I need to find out. This is what the question is, right? So R would be 5230 by 15361.5, right? So here the options are pretty close. It's better to use the calculator at this stage. So let me also do 361.5. So it's 14.46 is what you're getting. So the answer is 14.5 for this. Again, this one also, this is also mensuration, the geometry question with the areas being involved. So the sides of a triangle field of 55, 300 and 300 meters. So it's an isosceles triangle with 300, 355. Its area is equal to 7 by 15 the area of circular park. What is the perimeter of the circular park? So if I know the radius of the park, obviously I can find it, right? So let's first try to understand the area of the triangle. Once I know it, it's easy to find the area of the park. So when I know all the three sides, the area of a triangle, Heron's formula is what you can use. So first let's find the semi-perimeter, 55 plus 300 by 2. So 655 will be 327.5. So area of a triangle will be square root of S into each side I need to subtract, right? So 327.5 minus 327.5 into 327.5 minus 300 is 27.5. Another side also 27.5. 327.5 minus 55 will be 27.5, which is 272.5, right? So here 27.5 will come out, that's square root out of square root. So this is into 327.5 into 272.5. Let me use the calculator again for this. Actually you can do it this way, this could be better also, which is, this is 300 plus 27.5 into 300 minus 27.5, which is nothing but A plus B into A minus B, which is 300 square minus 27.5 square. So it will be 90,000. 27.5 square will be so it will be 5 5 is 25, 27 into 28, 56, 196. It will be 75625, 756.25. Uh, 89243. So now let's do square root of. Ideally we could have saved, I was just doing it. It's better to use calculator in this case, right? 327.5 into 272.5 is 8292435, and then you can do square root for it. Right, let's do this. The square root of 89243.75 is 298.73 into 27.5. So it's 298 into 27.5, which is 8,215. Okay, so this is 7 by 15th of the park area, right, into pi r square. So 2 by 7 into r square is nothing but 8215. 7 gets cancelled out. So it will be r square is equals to 8215 into 15 by 22. So 8215 into 15 divided by 22 and square root of 1867 is 43.2. So what is the circumference? It's 2 into pi into r. So let's do this. 2 into something seems to be off again. Let me check once. So let's see once. I think the method is correct, but let's see. Semi perimeter, correct, 7.5 and 7.5. This is also fine. This is where I think it's gone wrong. 8215 into 15 is something divided by 22. It's giving us 5601, and square root of that is 74.8. Should have been 74.8. So 2 into 22 into 74.8 divided by 7 is 470 point. Yeah, got it. Very calculation intensive question again. It is definitely, recommended to skip questions like this in the exam actually. I'll talk about that in the end, but yeah. So this is how you can do this. Okay, this one looks like a bit calculation intensive. You have a calculator, you can maybe do that also. Maybe it takes you 1.5 to 2 minutes if you use calculator also. Like try to find 6.43 square and then add them, all of that. But there is a small trick in it. This is more of an algebra question actually. Now if I take 6.43 as A and 5.18 as B, so this is A square and this is B square, and you know what this is? This is A into B, right? I got it out when I saw 6 into 530. So I mean, I was just checking it. They wouldn't ask a question like this unless there's some logic, right? So you see this into this, 4 3s are 24, 8 3s are 24. That's the last bit, and 6 5s are 30. So it should be slightly more than 30 point something. So 33 is looking like A into B. By 6.43A, 41.3449 is A square. 6.43 square would be 3 square 9. 6 6 are 36, but this 6.5 6.5, right? So I'll tell you what is 6.5 square easily. 5 5s are 25, 6 into 7 40, so it should be 42.25, right? So this should be slightly less than 6.5, so that's perfect. So A into A square is A cube minus 10.36 is 2 times 5.18. 2.59 is half of it, and then again this, so it's again technically B cube. So that's how they have set it. Basically, what is A cube minus B cube? A minus B into A square plus AB plus B square. And this is also A square plus AB plus B square. So just cancel them. It's 1 by A minus B. The bigger calculation is fundamentally such a simple thing. So it's 1 by 6.43 minus 5.18. It's 25 and 1 by 1.25. So it's like what, 100 by 125. It's 4 by 5, which is 0.8. So the answer is 0.51. Ideally, if you have a scientific calculator or anything which you can do with type your mobile calculator, this would not take you this much. Even that will take you same time if you just do 6.43 square plus this and divide by all of that. But in the case of the calculator where you have numbers like this and you have to move your mouse and click 6.43 into 6.43 equals to some value, note it, then plus, and then all of that, it takes you a bit more time. So if you can understand this way, it's much faster to do it. So this one is again a calculation based question, a simple simplification sort of a question. We classify it in maths, basic maths that we discuss. So BODMAS rule, first and foremost, let's deal with the brackets, right? Whatever is inside the bracket. Let me deal with this bracket. So it will be 35 plus 1, 36 by 5 minus 27 by 10. So this can be written as 72 by 10, 36 twos are, so that I get the same denominator. So it is 72 minus 27 will be 45 by 10. Right? That's what this would be. Okay, we'll leave like this. Divided by, let's deal with this. In this is 1 7 by 8, which is nothing but, let me deal with this, 15 by 8 divided by 4 by 3 of 3 by 16. Right? BODMAS rule is bracket, division, brackets of decimal, division, multiplication, addition and subtraction. So off is the priority than division. So off, you need to first do this. Right, so it's 4 by 3 into 3 by 6 is this 2 by 3. So 15 divided by 8 divided is into reciprocal, right? 2 by 3 becomes 3 by 2. It's 45 by 16. So this is division. So this is 45 by what is this, 10 into 16 by 45. So this will translate to 8.5. This entire thing is removed and I'll get 8.5. So it will be 8 5 is 42 by 5 divided by 6 7 by 2 of 7 1 by 5 is how much? 36 by 5 minus 8 by 5. So in this there's a division, there's a off and there's a minus, right? The priority goes for off first. 7 by 2 into this is 7 by 2 into 5 by 36. Right, that's what you're going to get. 7 by 2 into 5 by 36. So it will be 35 by 72. So 42 by 5 divided by this minus 8 by 5. Again division, this is the priority. So it will be 42 by 5 into 72 by 35 by 72, right? 35 minus 8 by 5. 7 6 are 7 5s are, so it will be 6 2s are 12, 42 432 by 25 minus 8 by 5. So it will be what? 40 by 25. Right, so 432 40 will be 390, 2 by 25. Seems to be a mistake somewhere, right? Let's check this once. Very sure of this part. Let's just repeat again. 35 36 36 by 5 minus 27, so that will be 72 by 10, so 45 by 10. Off first to 4 by 3 of 3 by 16. How did I make that mistake? 16, I missed 16, I wrote 6, that's the problem. 4 1s are 4 4s are, so it should have been 1 by 4. So 1 by 4, right? 15 by 8 divided by 1 by 4. So the reciprocal will be 15 by 8 into 4 by 1. It would have been 15 by 2. This entire thing would have translated to 15 by 2. Right, so let me just erase this once. So 45 by 10 into 2 by 15, 15 1s are, 15 3s are, 2 1s are, 2 5s are, so it will turn out to be 3 by 5. Okay, till this point it's fine. So I did a mistake. 3 by 5 should have been the answer here, but that's fine. What else are we getting? Let's deal with this first. Maybe I'll use a different color this time. Let's deal with this. This entire thing is cleared. Now I hope I did not make a mistake. 3 by 5. So 7 by 2 into 36 by 5, which is 252 by 10. Now maybe otherwise I'll do this. Right, 18s are 26, right, by 5. 18 7 106 by 5. Perfect. Right, did I make a mistake here also? So then we had this, which is 42 divided by 5. So this will 42 divided by 126 by 5. So let me just erase all the mistakes I did. This was 42 by 5, but somehow I did a mistake here. 7 by 2 of 36 by 5. So why did I do the reciprocal? Sorry for this mess up. So I hope it was not confusing. If not, really sorry. 7 by 2 into 36 by 5. And this should be 3 by 5, as I got this 3 by 5. So 7 by, so this is simply 126 by 5. So 42 by 5 divided by 126 by 5 minus 3 by 5. So it will be 42 by 5 into 5 by 126. 42 1s are 42 3s are. So 1 by 3 minus 3 by 5. So simply it will turn out to be 5 minus 9 by 5 minus 4 by 5. Again some mistake. No, sorry, 15, no, minus 4 by 15. That's the answer, right? Oof. Right. So this was a complete testing of the BODMAS rule. So off is priority, are more important than division, then multiplication, then addition, and then simple fractions and all. But yes, it is a bit complicated that you don't make a mistake like how I did here. Right, breakup of the total number of employees of a company and its 5 offices in cities ABCD. So they have given in degrees. The total number of employees is this. You have to understand the total circle is 360 degrees. So if they give a percentage, you do 100% if it's in degrees. So this is 36 degrees out of 360 degrees is 10%. Or the employees are 240 people from company or city E. Right. So if 1/3 of the total number of employees of the company in offices in the cities B and D are shifted to the offices in cities C and D in the ratio 2:3, find the difference between the number of employees in office in cities C and D is. Okay, first what is let's do all the cities, right? 36 degrees is this. This is 81 by 360 into 2400. That's how you do it. 12 3s are 12, 20, 3 1s are 327s are, it is 540 people are in city A. I don't need to do city A, it's only B, D, C and D is what I need. I'm just showing you. So 108 by 360 into 2400. So I think we can do this 12 3s are 12 20s are 3 1s are 336 are, so it is 720. What about this? 63 by 360 into 2400, same thing. 12 3s are 12 20s are 420. So 72 by 360 into 2400 to 1s are 72 5s are 480, right? So I got all of this. Anyway, 36 to the 72, I could have saved time, 240 480, but yeah. So they are saying 1/3 of the employees from B and D. What is the employees in B? It's 720. Plus what about D? D is 480. 1200. What is 1/3 of 1200? It is 400. So I am taking out 400 people from these cities and I am shifting into cities C and D in the ratio 2:3. That is 5 parts, right? 2 is 2 parts, 3 parts. So that means I am doing basically 160 in city E. C. City C will be having plus 160 and city E will have plus 240. So this 400 people pulled out from B and D are split into 2:3 ratio. So 160 people for C and 240 for E. Right. What is the people in C? C is 420. already had 420 in the C, now 160 more are added, so it will be 580. What about E? 240 are added, but what was the initial thing? Another 240 was there, so 480. So difference between them is 100. That's what they're asking, right? The difference between the number of employees in offices in cities C and D. 480, 480, it's 100 is the answer. We couldn't take the snip of the options, but 100 would be the answer for this. And again, a data interpretation question on the pie charts. So simple time, speed and distance question. Let's see this. So X takes 2.5 hours more time than Y to cover a certain distance. If X doubles his speed, he can cover the same distance 1.5 hours less than the time taken by Y for the same distance. How much time in hours does Y require to cover 2/3 of the same distance, right? So let's understand this. There is X, there is Y. I'm talking about the speed, I'm talking about the time, and the distance will be the same. The distance will never change, right? We're talking about the same distance. So it is saying that, let's assume the speed of Y, I don't know, whatever it is, let's call it Sy. The time taken by Y is Ty, okay? Normal time, okay? So if X goes at his normal speed, let's assume, I don't know what that is, speed of X is Sx, he would take 2.5 hours more than the time taken by Y, right? So Y is taken T hours, let's assume T hours, so it should be T plus 2.5. If X doubles the speed, right, let's count this double X situation. What is the speed of X then? It is 2 times Sx, because normal speed is Sx, so he doubled it. What is the time taken by S in that case? X is doing it the same distance in 1.5 hour less time than the time taken by Y. So that should be T is the time taken by Y minus 1.5. And all the three cases the same distance, right? So let's just deal with this and this. Equate it. Sx into T plus 2.5 is equals to 2Sx into T minus 1.5. They get cancelled out. T plus 2.5 is equals to 2T minus 3. Just play around. You'll get T as 5.5 hours. That is the time taken by Ty. So that's basically 11 by 2 hours. That is to cover the entire distance. What would be the time taken for 2/3? The same 2/3 of the time. So it's basically 11 by 3 hours. The Y will take 5.5 or 11 hours to complete the journey, the overall distance. To cover 2/3 of the distance, he will take 2/3 of the time, 2/3 of 11 by 2, which is 11 by 3, which is 2 by 3, which is option B, right? A simple one, a simple straight time, speed and distance. So this one is on the discounts and the mark price, the profit and loss. So trader gains 25% by selling an article at a discount of 35% on its mark price. If the cost price of article increased by 28%, what discount percent should he now give on the same mark price to get the same profit percentage as before? So let's understand this, okay? So I'll assume the mark price is 100 rupees. Okay, so what is the discount given? 35 rupees, that's the 35%. The selling price is 65 rupees for the trader, and he's making a profit of 25%. So what should be the cost price? SP by 1 plus profit percent. So it is 65 by 1 plus 25 by 100 is 1 by 4. So if I just do, I'll get 65 by 5 by 4. So that's 52 rupees. Right. So if a man purchase for 52 rupees and he is selling it at 65 rupees, he will get a profit of 25%. So the mark price will be 100 rupees to get that feel, right? So that's the related numbers are. If I would have taken it as X, I would have written as 0.35X, so it will be 0.65X, and this would have turned out to be 0.52X. Nothing different, right? It's all the same. So now they're saying if the cost price of article increased by 28%, so the 52 rupees thing increased the new cost price, 52 plus 28% of 52. Right, so that's the new cost price. Let's just keep for now 4 7s are 4 25s are 25 2s are 50 0 8. It will be 6.56. Okay, so now he must still get 25% profit. That's what the question is talking about. So if the profit is 25%, the selling price must be CP plus 25% of CP. So basically it's 125%. If you know it, that's great. Otherwise you can do normally also. 1.25 times 66.56. So what is the selling price? It's 125 into 66.56. If you do it quickly, then you can do that. So 125 6s it will be 750. 125 5s it will be 625. So it will be 700. No, sorry, 600. No, 700 only. So 700, 125 6 is again 700 plus 770, 700, 777. So it will be, okay, it's 1.25, no? So it will be 77.77 rupees is the selling price. Finally, so I've done it without the calculator, but if you use the calculator, you will get that, okay, finally the person should sell at 77.7 rupees. The mark price will not change, it's still 100 rupees. So what is the discount? If I have to get the same profit of 25%, I should say it's 100 rupees, but finally I should sell it at 77.7 rupees. So discount should be the difference between them. So that is 23.3%. So that there is no option like that. So let me check with the calculator this time. So what the method is perfect. We had a small calculation mistake. So 52 is fine. So new selling price should be 28% is the increase, right? So it should be 1.28 into 52, which is 66.5. That is great. So 1.25 into 66. Is 83.2. That's the problem. So I did a small calculation mistake here. So 1.25 into 66.56 is 83.2 rupees. So if I am saying the mark price is 600 and I'm giving it 83.2 rupees to get the same profit of 25%, I'm giving a 16.8% of discount. That's the answer, right? So what is the mean, median, the mean of the mode and the median of the data given below? So we're talking about the mean of the mode and the median. So first let's find the median of the data. First let me arrange, right? 1, 1, then I have 2, then I have 3, 3, then I have 4, 4, and then I have 5, 5, then we have 6, 6, 6, then we have 7, 7, then we have 8, 8, and then we have 9, and then 9. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Perfect. Right, arranged 18, so it's even number. So 9th and 10th term is the median. Average of 9th and 10th. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So 5.5 is the median. What is the mode? The one which repeats the most. 6 is the one which is repeating the most. The only one which is repeating 3 times. So I need to find the mean of the mode and the median. 6 plus 5.5 by 2, which will be 5.75. Right? Simple stats. Takes a bit of time to note and observe, but then easier one to do. So in a company, 58% of employees are males, the rest are females. So it's like this, the totally 100% in the company. So 58% are males. The remaining 42% must be females, as per the question. 48% of the employees are graduates, of which 33.13% are males. So basically it's saying like this. There's another split they're talking. Let me write this way. 48% of the employees are graduates. I don't know what the rest of the case are. 33.331 is 1/3 basically, which is of this 48%, 1/3 of them are males, which is basically 16% of them are males. Understand that this 16% is of the total 100%. I am not talking about this 48, right? Don't think 16% of 48 people. No, 16% of the total. I am counting. If I just make it easier for us to understand, let's say there are 100 people in the, because it's already asking for only percentage. You can assume this to make it easy. I'm just making it. There are 100 people in the company. 58 of them are males. 42 of them are females. Out of these 100 people, 48 of them are graduates, right? Out of that, 1/3 of them are males, so 16 members are male graduates and the rest 32 will be female graduates. The question is asking the percentage of those who are not graduates among females. It's among females. Among females, the percentage of those who are not graduates is, okay, so if 48 of them are grads, the rest are, I'm assuming, not graduates, right? That's the logic it should be. So that is 52 of them are not graduates, 48 of them are graduates, 52 of them are not graduates. So if I know that 58 females are there in the total company, 16 of them are grads, obviously this split should tell me that 42 males are not grads. 42 males are not grads, 16 males are grads, so totally 58 males. Out of this 42 females, 32 females are grads, so 10 females are not grads, right? So among the females, 42 females, how many of them are not grads? 10 females are not grads. So that's the percentage I need to do. Number of women who are not grads divided by the total number of females, that's going to be the answer. So it will be 26, 5, should be 25, 4s are 100, so 26 should be 3.9 or something. The options are how close are they? Okay, so let's just do, maybe I'll just skip this, so it will be like 1000 by 42. Let's use the calculator for this, 1000 by 42. So it should be 25, 23.2. I'm assuming to be 23.8. Let's check this. My approximation says it should be 23.8. Perfect, 23.8. Right, that's the answer for this. Right, a easier one again, simple percentage based questions. So time, speed and distance question. Trains A and B start moving at the same time from station X and Y respectively towards each other on the parallel tracks. So let's assume this is X station and there is a Y station. There are two parallel tracks connecting them. The trains are traveling, train A and train B towards each other. After passing each other, A and B take X hours and 8 hours to reach Y. So let's say they meet somewhere here, okay? So let's assume the train is starting here, goes all the way and reaches here later, and B starts here and then it reaches right this side. So they are saying from this point, B takes 8 hours to reach this part of the journey and A takes X hours to reach. If the speed of B is 25% more than A, as I'm saying, it's more than A. So if the speed of A is 100 kilometers per hour, for example, B will be 125 kilometers per hour. This should be very easy for you to understand. Okay, this will save you time. Otherwise, it takes you more time to solve it. So speed of B is 25% more than A. So if A is 100, B is 125. So simply I have to understand. So this is taking 8 hours for it. Okay, A and B after passing each other. So understand that they meet at a point, okay, where they would have taken the same time, because both have started at the same time. Right, I'll tell you. So what should be this distance based on the speeds I assumed? Based on the speeds I've assumed, understand? Based on the speeds I've assumed, 125 is the speed of B into 8 hours. Right, it will be 1000 kilometers. Don't worry with these numbers, you will get the answer. Even if you take variables, you will get the same answer. I prefer numbers for ease of it. In the same time, this would have been X hours at 100 kilometers per hour, the speed of A 100x kilometers. Okay, let's assume they both started at the same time and they took T hours to meet, okay? What would have been this distance? It would have been 125 T, because it's the distance traveled by B, right? B travels at 125 kilometers per hour, they took T hours to meet, and A would have traveled 100 into T. So 100 T is this distance, which is nothing but 1000 kilometers, because the same distance, parallelly, understand that. So T should be 10 hours. Once I know T is 10 hours, so what should be this? This should be 1250. So 100 into X should also be the same distance, right? So 1250 is equals to 100x. So X is equals to 12.5 hours. So the answer is this. Right, it's just about doing the question into two parts. So the distance traveled here in 8 hours, in X hours, in T hours, and the same distance. So these two must be same and these two must be same. That will give me the value for X. That's it. Two variables, T hours and X hours, and there are two equations for us to solve. 100t is equals to 1000, 100x is equals to 125t. The question will be simple to solve. As I said, this is an extension of algebra. So if you see this 11 plus 72, what is root 72? Root 72 is root 36 into 2, that is 6 root 2. So I can write it this way, okay? Root of 11 can be written as 3 plus root 2 plus 2 into 3 into root 2. See, 2 into 3 into root, 3 square plus root 2 square. You know, I was just thinking if there is, somehow I can get rid of square root. So if this can be, the 11 plus root 72 can be written as a square plus b square plus 2ab, then I can easily, get rid of the square root. Right? That was the idea that I could think of when I was trying to solve this problem. So 11 is written as 3 square plus root 2 square, 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 2 into 3 into root 2 is 6 root 2. Right, this is like a square plus b square, so b is root 2 plus 2 into a into b. So this will turn out to be square root of a plus b whole square, which is a plus b, right, where a is nothing but 3 and b is root 2 in our case. So this entire thing will translate to by 3 plus root 2. Let's look at the 17 plus 12 root 2. So 12 root 2 is nothing but 2 into 6 into root 2, but then that won't give me 17 because 6 square is 36, that's too big. So let me do this 3 into 2 root 2. Then I'll get 3 square plus 2 root 2 square, which is 8. So here x can be taken as 3, x square, plus y is taken as 2 root 2, which is y square, 2 root 2 square is 8. So 9 plus 8 is 17, plus 2 into x into y. So again this would also be square root of x plus y whole square, which is x plus y, is nothing but 3 plus 2 root 2, which is a plus b root 2. Now how do I get rid of the denominator in search? You just have to do this. You have to use a plus b into a minus b logic, that is divide and multiply with 3 minus root 2. Right, 3 minus root 2, 3 minus 2, they get cancelled out. So I am just doing it. So 3 minus root 2 into 3 plus root 2 will be a plus b into a minus b, which is a square minus b square. Now I have to multiply this also. So 3 3s are 9, 3 into minus root 2, 3 into, right, 2 root 2 into 3 will be 6 root 2 minus, or it will be 2 root 2 into 2 will be 4. So this will translate to 9 minus 4 is 5, minus 3 root 2 plus 6 root 2 is 3 root 2, divided by 3 square is 9 minus 2 is 7. So technically this will become 5 by 7 plus 3 by 7 root 2. So a is nothing but, a plus b root 2 is what they are saying, right? A is 5 by 7 and b is 3 by 7. So a plus 3 into b. 3 3 is 9 plus 5 is 14 by 7, which is nothing but 2. Right? That's how we can do this. A bit harder one, because if you don't get this idea, then you will never be able to solve this. It takes sometimes a bit of time, right? So yeah, this one is a bit tricky for sure. So last one, so sum of x is divided between a sum of x rupees is divided between a, b, c and d, such that the ratio of the shares of a and b is 9:5. C share is 70% of b share, and the ratio of the share of d to the combined share of b and c is 1:3. If the share of a is 999, what is the value of x? That's what the question is, right? So x is divided between 4 people, fine. They clearly said ratio of a and b is 9:5. I clearly know a got 999. So this helps me to find b's share, which is 555. And c's share is nothing but 70% of b. 35, somewhere 35 plus 338, 388.5 rupees. And d, ratio of share of d and combined share of b is b plus c is 1/3. So I know b is 555 and c is 388.5. So d is nothing but 943.5 by 3. 3 3s are, 3 1s are, 3 4s are, 3 5s are. So I just need to add all 4 of them. So I know b plus c is already 943.5, and A is 999 and D is 314.5. So 5 plus 5 is 10, 1. So this will be 17. Then I have 11 plus 4, 15. 2257 is the answer. Right? Simple one, simple ratios based question. Maybe a bit of percentage also, but yeah, right. So that's how you can solve these questions. Right, so we'll get into the section summary part. So I'll talk about, as I said, the approach that I would recommend students. There are few key points that I would want to reiterate. First thing, there is a calculator in the exam, which means you can avoid, they have intentionally given some hard calculations also, which exam without calculator would never do that. Number two, you cannot, move forward and come backward. That is, you cannot, just skip a question and then think that I can attempt it later. That's not possible in this exam. I hope you have experienced it by taking the exam, and clearly they have written in the instructions, right? This is a mandatory question, you cannot revisit the question. So please don't move to the previous or next question without attempting this question. And point 3, there is no negative marking, right? So that means it's better to mark something. You never know, right? Your luck might help you. If you're leaving 6 questions and technically by probability you should get 1.5 correct, 4 options are there. Even if not, the worst day you get 1 correct, in your good day you might get 3 correct. Who knows, right? So I'll tell you, if you ask me, there are 26 questions, right? And we have 40 minutes for this section, right? The section has 40 minutes, 26 questions. So if I just do 40 minutes into 60 seconds divided by 26, you're getting almost 92 seconds for each question, which is 1.5 minutes, right? And I'm very sure most of the questions are doable in 1.5 minutes, okay? To be very frank, 1.5 minutes is 1 minute 30 seconds, 90 seconds, 92 seconds is what you're getting per question. It's pretty much doable. And to be frank, I personally believe this test to clear in this particular section, right? I'm not sure if there's an overall cutoff or anything for this, but to get into, like, for example, TCS, I'm assuming that getting 15 plus correct, that is almost 60% of the score is what you're getting out of 26. I'm expecting this to be a good score to look. If you want to be on safe side, maybe 18, right? That's a good number to look at. This is definitely not an exam where you need to attempt all the questions. You need to attempt, I mean to say, you can guess it, but you don't need to do all the questions. I would never imagine a situation where a company would expect you to solve all 26 in the given 40 minutes. So what is my ideal estimation for a good attempt? Good attempt is attempt 20 questions to 22 questions in 40 minutes, so that you get 2 minutes per question on average, right? And then you will be getting 16 to 18 correct, assuming you get 80% accuracy. I always prefer to, in quant, I think it's very, very much feasible to get higher accuracy, right? This is what I would say when I'm saying attempt, not that with a poor accuracy, but 80% accuracy, getting 22 correct, I think you are in a good attempt. So 2 minutes, close to 2 minutes is what you're getting. So when I took the exam, to be frank, right, I skipped this one actually. I did not strike to me initially. I was also running late. Then I skipped this one, the washing machine thing also I skipped. Then I also skipped one more question. I think this one, because I was a bit confused with this volume, what they were trying to say. Then later on after the exam, I just reiterated, checked, and then I assumed that's the mistake they did. So I think I didn't do 3 questions, and I don't remember if I did a calculation mistake anywhere. This one I did a mistake here, but in the exam I did not when I attempted. But then yes, sometimes it might have happened. I might have done a couple of things wrong also. So totally I think I've attempted 23 out of 26, and maybe even in the exam in the hurry might have missed 1 or 2 questions. So right, I would have gotten some 21, 22 correct. I don't know, because we don't know the answers. They did not give a score, but I think that's a fair thing. So to be frank, I'm openly saying it, it's not feasible to attempt all 26 unless you're very good. Maybe if you're good, I'm happy to hear that you're pretty good. But I would say don't try to push yourself to do that. So because you cannot skip the question and come back to it, ideally I would want you to understand, try to keep this in mind. If you feel the question is seeming to be very hard, keep a checkpoint, okay? There are 26 questions, keep 4 checkpoints. Checkpoint 1, That's 6 questions. Checkpoint 2, 7 questions. Checkpoint 3, 6 questions, and checkpoint 4, 7 questions. This is just my suggestion. So I'm splitting into 4 parts, so that is 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes. By first 10 minutes, you should have done 6 questions. Okay, you should come to this checkpoint, right? Because you don't know how easy the questions are later, right? You don't get stuck at a question for more than a minute. If you don't see the light, just leave it and come out. If you are solving it and you are in the midway, it's okay. But then you are not even figuring out what to do after a minute, then there's no point in spending time, right? So please come out of that thing. So, but then don't try to skip everything and then you are left with 15 minutes and then you are left at the last question. You cannot go back, right? So that's why I said take this checkpoint system. So 6 questions, so that you get, okay, I've done the first question, second question, I'm stuck with the third one, let's leave it. Just mark something. 4th question, 5th question. Now I only have 30 seconds for 6th question. Try to carefully jump into it. So you have to adjust your time into these 4 buckets so that you don't push yourself. Like at the end you have 7 questions, you only have 5 minutes. Pretty much you are at a very bad state because you are could be missing out easier questions. At least in the sample test I understood that the questions are randomly generated in terms of sequence, right? So they have not put up in any fixed order saying this should be easier first and then harder later or something. So please try to understand, this is what I would recommend students. Try to keep this in mind. In each checkpoint at least 5 questions are done, right? So that you do at least 20 plus attempts in 40 minutes is what I would say. With an 80% accuracy is what I would count as a good attempt. If you have to be safer side, if you want to do better, then obviously attempt 2-3 more and get a couple more questions, and then I think you should be pretty good with this section. This is what I would say. Because you don't have the chance to come back, please make sure that you at least in our mocks, our system lets you, but don't use it when you're taking the mock. That is also an advice I'll give. Try to stick to this philosophy that if I am done, I'll move ahead, I'll not come back, right? Then the topics, surprisingly, to be frank, I have not seen questions on probability and permutations, right? I don't know, it's because this is just a mock test. Maybe they did not do it. The focus was heavily on the arithmetic, right? Heavily on the arithmetic, right? Very limited to the algebra and geometry, and then a bit of stats and the data interpretation, right? So I would say 26 out of 26, I think close to 17 of them, like 60% of that was 60 to 65% of it was arithmetic. Then you have maybe 20%, 25% of it was this, and then a couple of questions were there on the geometry and algebra, right? I don't know if this will be the real thing. What we just want to keep some surprise also. In our mock test, we have intentionally put a couple of questions which are outside this topics, but broadly we will try to keep this. We have kept this pattern, so I would also recommend you to focus on these areas: percentages, profit and loss, ratios, interest, time and work, time, speed and distance, word problem, and ages and mixtures. So standard topics. Any exam you will see most the same topics. The geometry, there was on 3D geometry and one on the areas, so 2D plus 3D. Then you have a bit of algebra on basic identities, right? We are not getting into the functions or all of those advanced stuff, but basic algebra identities: a plus b whole square, a plus b whole cube, a cube plus b cube, a cube minus b cube, and all of that. And a little bit of data and mean, median, mode, and standard deviation. Just refresh these topics if you have not, because this is not a common thing, right? You rather see probability permutations generally in this domain, but this sample test was a bit more on that. So this is what we have to say, right? Keep these topics in mind for the next few days. Try to practice them. If you are a student of our placement preparation course of GT Cube, you would have already got all of these topics. So make sure you refresh these topics, practice questions. The difficulty of the questions are not hard, to be frank. They are a bit calculation intensive, I would put it for sure. But you can definitely experience. These are very standard template questions that you would see, so it's not something out of box. So just go ahead and try. If you're taking our mocks, make sure that you do that. We have tried to replicate the difficulty wise and also the topics based on the sample test. So we have launched the official mock test, we've launched our own mock test series, which is something that we have tried to mimic based on what we have seen in the sample test. If you like the video, do subscribe to our YouTube channel, do follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We come up with a lot of campaigns, offers, and a lot of useful videos for your preparation. Along with the placement, we're doing CAT, GRE, right, IELTS for foreign studies or even Indian domains, and also, yes, so you will get all those updates if you're interested. Visit our store gtcube.com/store for our mock tests available at a very affordable price. Right, thanks a lot, and let's see in the next video.